Hello, I'm Sonia West reporting for Sanjha TV Live. We are here in Abbotsford where we are at the rally for Mike de Jong, who is the Conservative candidate for Abbotsford South Langley. So you can see there's a lot of people here. It's live right now happening here in Abbotsford at Gyan Suites location in the banquet hall here. We've got lots of community members from the South Asian community and we've got a lot of non-South Asian community. So everybody's here together. We're about to start here. You can hear me behind me is Mary Pollock, Canadian politician, very well known. So let's take you live. Let's have a look.
We need y'all to move right in. Nobody's going to put the food away on you, I promise.
मैं कैंपेन दे वालों जॉन्ग कैंपेन दे वालों सारे नु जी आया आखदा ते बेनती करदा कि सारे प्लीज स्टेज दे नेड़े आ जाओ ते ताकि प्रोग्राम नु सुचारू ढंग दे नाल ਅਸੀਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਕਰ ਸਕੀਏ.
Yeah, you're making us feel lonely up there. Come on, folks, come on in. Let's fill up this space. You got to have free hands to be able to clap. You got to get some energy. Oh, where's the energy in this room? Come on, have you got energy? Hey, they're doing better than you guys right now, so let's hear it. Come on, this side. What about you? You guys can come a little closer. Come on, come on.
मेरी बेनती है सारे नु प्लीज स्टेज दे लोग आ जाओ ताकि प्रोग्राम नु शुरुआत कर सकीए. पहुंचे बंदे सजना दे ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸੁਣੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਤੇ ਮਾਈਕ ਦੀ ਜੌਂਗ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਿਚਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਅੱਜ ਸਾਂਝ ਪਾਈ ਜਾਊਗੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਬੜੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਅਤੇ ਬੜੀ ਮਹੱਤਵਪੂਰਨ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਖੜੀ ਹੈ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਬਰੂਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਖੜੀ ਹੈ. ਸੋ ਇਹ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਚਰਚਾ ਕਰਨੀ ਅੱਜ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਵੀ ਬਣਦੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਘੱਟ ਬੜਾ ਅੱਜ ਮਹੱਤਵਪੂਰਨ ਹੋਣ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ.
All right, we've got everybody together. We've got the energy in the rooms. And the very first thing we're going to do to start this off in a good way is we are going to sing "Oh Canada." So I need you all to stand. I'm going to start you off. Wow, there we go. Who, as you all know, is a popular media personality. I am not a popular media personality. My name is Mary Pollock, and I spent quite a number of years being a colleague of Mike de Jong's. I was an MLA, I've been on school board, basically couldn't keep a job. But I will tell you this, in my more than 20 years in public life, I had the chance to meet all sorts of amazing people, work with amazing people. You know what? One of the best, one of the absolute best, was the guy you're here to support tonight, and that is Mike de Jong. So just before we kick it off, I want to acknowledge a couple of other very special people that we have here tonight. We have Mr. Simon Gibson, councillor in Abbotsford and former colleague of mine tonight. Oh, there he is. And, of course, the amazing senator, the only senator that I like to call my friend, Senator St. Germain. Could you please give everybody a wave? And now it's time, Lovely, I'll ask you just to say a few words. We're going to get this
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for your kind introduction. And I don't know if I'm popular or not, but I am a media analyst. So I'm a lawyer and a media analyst. And most importantly, I'm a father of my 1-year-old son. And that's the role I enjoy the most. So ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ ਮਾਈਕ ਡੀ ਯੋਂਗ ਦੀ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਨਿਊ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਇੱਕ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ there was an unset covenant ਇੱਕ ਅਣਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਅਹਿਦਨਾਮਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਹਾਰਡ ਵਰਕਰ ਹੋ ਇੱਕ ਚੰਗੇ ਨਾਗਰਿਕ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਡੀਸੈਂਟ ਲਿਵਿੰਗ ਸਟੈਂਡਰਡ ਇੰਜੋਏ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਡੀਸੈਂਟ you can own a decent home which you can a decent house which you can call a home ਪਰ ਉਹ ਅਹਿਦਨਾਮਾ ਹੁਣ ਟੁੱਟਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਦਿਸ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਕਈ ਡੀਪ ਰੂਟਡ ਕਾਰਨ ਨੇ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਰਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਜਾਈਏ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਸਫੀਅਰ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣਾ ਪਊਗਾ ਕਿ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਸਫੀਅਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਐਜ਼ ਐਨ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਐਲਾਈ ਕੌਣ ਹੈ ਸਾਡਾ ਦੋਸਤ ਕੌਣ ਹੈ ਐਲਾਈ ਜਾਂ ਦੋਸਤ ਉਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਇੱਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਥਿੰਕਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਫਿਲਾਸਫੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਜ਼ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਈਡੀਓਲੋਜੀ ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਮਾਣ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ we believe in family, we believe in God and we believe in fiscal management ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਲੰਬੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਡਰਾ ਕੇ ਜਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਹਊਆ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਤੇ ਐਨਡੀਪੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੋੜ ਕੇ ਰੱਖਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰੋ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਐਂਟੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡਾ ਗਲਤ ਤੱਥ ਕੋਈ ਹੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੰਪੇਅਰ ਕਰੋ ਹਾਰਪਰ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਾਰਪਰ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਇੱਕ ਬੜੀ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਪ੍ਰੀਸਾਈਜ਼ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਡਿਲੀਵਰ ਕਰਦੀ ਸੀ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਜਿਹੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਹੀਨਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੀਆਰ ਮਿਲੀ ਸੋ ਦੇ ਵਰ ਸਰਟਨ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਪੇਅਰ ਕਰੋ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਨੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਕਿਹਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਇਜ਼ ਮਾਡਰਨ ਡੇ ਸਲੇਵਰੀ ਸੋ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਹਿਊਮਿਲੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨੂੰ ਲਿਆ ਕੇ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਜਾਂ ਇਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਆਂ pro immigration when they have allowed the exploitation of the immigrant communities at such a wide scale ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਅੱਜ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਗਲੂਮੀ ਪਿਕਚਰ ਪੇਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਆਸ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਨ ਹਜੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਹੈ we have hope ਉਹ ਆਸ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਨ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦਿਸਦੀ ਹੈ ਮਾਈਕ ਡੀ ਯੋਂਗ ਵਰਗੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਮਾਈਕ is a rare combination of integrity of experience and deep rooted commitment to his people and community ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਸ ਨਾਜ਼ੁਕ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਜ਼ਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਟ੍ਰੇਡ ਟੈਰਿਫਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਧਮਕੀਆਂ ਹੋਣ ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਗਲਤ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਲਿਆਂਦੇ ਗਏ ਮਾੜੇ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੁਣ ਐਕਸਪੈਰੀਮੈਂਟ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਲਗਜ਼ਰੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਨਹੀਂ we don't have the room for experiments we need somebody of Mike's stature to be our voice in Ottawa we need somebody because far too long our agriculture communities our resource based economy our transportation industry has been ignored but not anymore we need an advocate in the form of Mike D. Jong to represent us in Ottawa so ladies and gentlemen Mike D. Jong not just for Abbotsford South Langley but for Western Canada
Who's here ready for some common sense? Who's here ready for somebody who's going to actually spend our money the way that we might think our money ought to be spent? Who's here to make sure that they represent this community better than anybody else I can imagine? Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ourselves together for a big welcome for our next MP, Michael DeYoung.
That's it. That's all I got. Sorry. That's all I got. You ready to help save Canada?
Yeah.
You ready to help fix what is wrong with our country and turn ourselves to the country that we all know we can be? The country where there's promise for our kids and grandkids. Are you ready to do that? Yeah, I know you are. I know that you are because I know something about the people in this room. I know that no matter if you were born in Abbotsford or Amritsar or Amsterdam, whether you came from Langley, Lujana,
Kidnapped.
start with L. Whether you came from Matsqui, Moga, or Munich, Beardenville, Pachela, or Paris. And whether you're a teacher, a notary, a flight instructor, a doctor, a nurse, an engineer, a rancher, business people, and a farmer. What we all are is members of the Canadian family.
Here, here.
We are that family. We are Canada. Canada belongs to us. And all of us are here today, I believe, because we want to take Canada back. We want to take Canada back so that it belongs to the people once again. We want to take Canada back from a group that is apparently content with driving us into levels of debt that we have never seen before and foisting that debt on you. And where's Alex's little guy? Girl. That's a different discussion. That's we're not getting into. Because at the rate this government, Mr. Trudeau and this government are spending, it'll be that 2-year-old, that 2-month-old's grandchildren that have to pay this off. That's not acceptable for Canadians. Right. We want to take our country back from a group that believes it's okay to have escalating crime rates, to have a court system that doesn't impose any sanction on criminals, that seems to think it is okay to say to our kids, if you want to use drugs, that's fine, we're going to make them available to you and we'll call them safe drugs. There's nothing safe about it, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, that's right. Right. That's right.
No such thing as safe heroin, there's no such thing as safe cocaine, there's no such thing as safe crystal meth. But I fear, as I know you do, for the message this government, this Trudeau government, this Liberal government has sent, by the way, in cahoots with the provincial government. And there's lots of blame to spread around here.
Yeah.
We want to take our country back because we remember a day when people like Jerry St. Germain and Stockwell Day sat in our parliament, when Canada was respected around the world.
Here, here.
It wasn't that long ago, people wanted to buy a maple leaf and put it on their backpack. Even people that weren't Canadians wanted to buy a maple leaf and put it on their backpack. Remember those days when you would stride through an airport and you were proud? You were proud of the fact that you were from Canada. You were proud of the fact that you were from British Columbia. You were proud of the fact that people looked at our country and said, that's what we want to be like. We were respected for a whole bunch of reasons, ladies and gentlemen. One of the reasons we were respected is because we were seen to be a reliable ally. We were seen to be a reliable ally. You know, we're not a military nation, although when the world needed us in World War I and World War II, we answered the call in Korea, in peacekeeping missions all over the world. But the world knows that when a country invades, as Russia did, Canada's not going to be the first in line to send divisions. But there are things we can do. When our allies in Germany and the Netherlands and Belgium, France, when they say to the Russians, we're not going to buy your energy anymore, that's one of the ways we are going to impose sanctions on you for taking a step that is unacceptable. That was the cue for Canada to step forward and say, it gets cold in Germany in the wintertime. We need some energy. That was the cue for Canada to say, we'll fill the breach. We'll step up because we are blessed in this country with a plethora, with a whole bunch of resources, including energy. And what did our Prime Minister and what did our Liberal government say? They said, no, we won't help you. We won't help our allies. And look at where we are today. That's not the Canada that we want. Is that the Canada we want?
No.
Absolutely not. You know, I look around the room, and I know so many of you. I've come to know you over the years, and you've come to know me, and I've had the privilege to represent you for a number of years provincially. And it's gratifying beyond description to see you all here, to see friends who, all of you have other things taking place in your life, and yet you've come here this evening to make a statement. You're making a statement. I'm proud and pleased that part of that statement is your support for me, but that statement is that you care about this country and you're prepared to roll up your sleeves to help save this country. And that's a gift that you're giving the rest of the country. I have to say thank you to a group of people who've helped make this evening happen. Pavan is here somewhere. Wade, Marty, Allison, Brian, Nick is here. Mario came over. There's a whole team of people that make something like this happen. But in thanking them, they are motivated, just so you know, they are motivated by the same thing that brought you here today. Because they have a vision of what Canada can be and should be. I hate dwelling on the negatives. My chai cup is always half full. It's never half empty. I drink a lot of chai. My chai cup is half full. So when we talk about how we're going to fix this country, because that's what we got to talk about. People know what the Liberals have done to this country. When we talk about how we're going to fix it, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to start with some pretty fundamental basics. How about this? How about the fact that the government should respect you as taxpayers by not spending billions more than you send to the government? Now, I'm going to tell you something. Right. I'm going to tell you. In this room today are two former provincial finance ministers. Now, I'm one of them. Stockwell Day's the other. Now, between us, Stockwell Day and I tabled 9 or 10 balanced budgets. So when you hear people like Chrystia Friedland and others saying, "Oh, it can't be done," it can be done, but you need governments and you need representatives who believe in a set of principles. And the set of principles that we believe in is the same one that guides you at your table, at your kitchen table, in your house, which is, as a family, if we continuously spend more money than we have, guess what? We're in trouble. At our business, whether we're in the notary business, whether we're in the flight training business, these are funded, whether we're in the agri-food business. Jerry knows this. Oh, there's my chai cup, and it's half full. Jerry knows this. Gary's a smart businessman. He knows that if he continuously sells his cucumbers and peppers for less than it costs him to make them, you're going out of business, folks. So we got to bring some fiscal discipline back to government.
Here, here.
We got to bring some fiscal discipline back to government. You know, when Mary reminded me,
I'm behind the fence.
Mary reminded me, someone said, well, how are you going to do that? Because it seems like it's been so long since any notion of fiscal discipline has mattered within government. Mary reminded me when we were in government provincially and I was the finance minister, she said something to me tonight. She said, you know what, Mike? You were the finance minister the first time I got my full paycheck. Now, you know what she meant? She meant because when we were in government, if the ministers didn't stick within their budget, and if the government didn't balance the budget, the ministers didn't get their full salary. Yeah, you're allowed to clap for that. You have to bring a sense of personal accountability to the people that we elect to represent us, ladies and gentlemen.
Here, here.
They need to understand that it's not their money. It's your money. And every single time government spends money, it is coming out of your pocket. That's not a complicated concept, but it's one that we seem to have lost sight of. And we need a taxation regime in this country that is competitive, that doesn't punish people for being successful.
Yes.
You know? People work hard. We got families in Langley, in Abbotsford. They work hard, they've got a small business, they want their kids to go to BCIT or SFU, they buy a condo. Kids can use it when they're going to school, and afterwards they hang on to it. Maybe mom and dad go to a hockey game or go to a show. And what did the Liberals do? They want to take two-thirds of whatever good fortune has followed that hard-working family. They're going to take it away from them. You know, for that family, can we all be honest with one another? You know what that represents? That's their pension plan.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
They don't have a public sector pension plan. All of their savings are caught up in that. We shouldn't be punishing people for working hard and being successful. And ladies and gentlemen, Canadians are a compassionate people. But we have to address the rampant increase in crime and the impact it is having on families and communities right across Canada, and certainly right across British Columbia. There's a lady here who bought a place in the redeveloped part of Abbotsford. It's a beautiful new complex, beautiful new home where she makes her home with her family. Here's the problem. Within 4 months of moving in, that drug problem that plagues us has now visited upon her neighborhood. You know, this experiment with legalizing drugs hasn't worked. It hasn't worked for Canadians as a society.
Right.
Canadians shouldn't be forced to pay the price by sacrificing their own sense of safety because of an experiment.
Right.
But do you know who else it hasn't worked for? It hasn't worked for the people that are addicted to the drugs. All we are doing is perpetuating a life of misery for those people. What Canadians, I believe, are prepared to do is allocate some funding to ensure that when a person finds themselves in that situation, there's a detox counseling facility available for them now, not 6 months from now.
Right.
Let's give people some hope again and not simply perpetuate a life of misery, which is what the present government seems to think is acceptable. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I think all of us can agree that in the last 8 years, when you think about where Canada stood internationally 8-9 years ago and where we are today, now this can be fixed. We have a trade minister, former trade minister. You're probably going to hear a little bit from Stockwell Day about the importance of that international relationship that Canada needs to create. We are 40 million people in the second largest country in the world. We need to trade. We need to have relationships with other countries. We've got a challenge to the south right now. Let none of us underestimate the nature of that challenge. But we can rise to the occasion, but we need to do so professionally. It's been amateur hour, I'm sorry to say, on the international front in Canada for too long. We need a professional group who understands the importance of those relationships and can manage those relationships professionally. So, the question for you is, do you think we can do it?
Your hand.
I believe that we can rebuild this country. Can we turn Canada back into the country that we were once proud of? Can we do that? Can we turn Canada back into a country that people can get jobs in, that people want to invest in, and when they do invest, have a chance to succeed? Can we do that? Can we turn Canada into a country that the rest of the world looks at, particularly our allies, and says we want to be like them because this is a Canada where freedom matters, where the right to worship freely matters, where you can have real freedom of speech? Can we do that? And ladies and gentlemen, let's lock arms. Let's talk to our neighbors. I have one more question for you. Can we send a representative from Abbotsford, South Langley to Ottawa who's got the experience necessary to begin contributing to that rebuild on day one as part of the Pierre Poilievre-led Conservative Party? And ladies and gentlemen, let's do it, shall we? Now I want to introduce you to a fellow that I came to know a number of years ago. There aren't many people that can claim to have been elected or been elected to public office longer than our next guest. Simon Gibson is one of the few, and Jerry St. Germain is the other. And they're both sitting around him. Jerry, 1984 by-election?
83.
83. A day that will live in infamy. I will never forget Jerry St. Germain, Main Streeting on Main Street and Mission, the way they used to do it. And Brian Mulrooney in tow, but Jerry was the star of the show that day, I'll tell you. Our only federal forest minister, right, Jerry?
Yes, and Minister of Transport.
And Minister of Transport. And of course, Simon Gibson is an institution around these parts because of the contributions he's made over 5 decades now. Elected in the 1970s.
Yeah, but who's counting?
But who's counting, said Simon. Stockwell Day started off in 1986. He was elected as an MLA in Alberta. He became the Labour Minister. He eventually ended up Chair of Treasury Secretary, Finance Minister in Alberta. And again, demonstrated that he believed in fiscal responsibility and respected the taxpayers. He then went on to become a leader at the federal level and to play an instrumental role in the Conservative governments under Stephen Harper. I would suggest to you that there is, aside from the Prime Minister, perhaps the Finance Minister, Minister of Trade is arguably the most important person in our federal government because so much of our wealth is dependent on the success of the Minister of Trade. He was the Minister of Public Safety. And you know what he understood? He understood that there have to be sanctions for criminal behavior. When someone commits a crime, when someone is arrested, and when someone is found guilty in our courts, there have to be sanctions. And that is a message that Stockwell Day had no problem repeating. And no problem emphasizing. Yes, the courts are independent, but the courts need to know what the expectations of the federal parliament is, and the expectations of the federal parliament are outlined in a little document called the Criminal Code of Canada. And I'm sorry to say that the present government has dismantled many of the features of the Criminal Code of Canada that actually do impose sanctions for criminal misconduct in this country. Stockwell Day understood that. And Stockwell Day understood something else about this part of the world. He actually represented a constituency in British Columbia, in the Okanagan. But Stockwell Day understood and understands the importance of British Columbia and Vancouver as our gateway to much of the world. And And when we were government, when he was in the federal government, Mary and I were in the provincial government, we worked closely together to capitalize and expand on those opportunities. And my friends, many of you, I think there's a few people who hail from Punjab here. Anyone? Anyone? All right, look, I got it. You've known me long enough, I got to do it. Where's the Moga Mafia? Who's here from Moga? Come on. There we go. There we go. Who's from Lujana? Who's from... No one from Lujana? Amritsar. Right here. Amritsar. There they are. There's the Amritsar crew. Chandigarh. No, there. Chandigarh. Which sector? Stockwell Day understood that the relationship between Canada and India is of paramount importance. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not in a good place right now. Stockwell Day understood the need to work cooperatively with the provincial government and understood the importance of that Pacific Gateway that we represent on the west coast of Canada. He was a champion not just for his constituency, he was a champion for British Columbia and ultimately on the international level, a champion for Canada. It's my great pleasure to welcome and introduce to you our friend, my friend, Stockwell. Yeah.
Thank you for the over-exaggeration. That's great, your generous comments, but I'm going to take them all when you're a recovering politician. Anytime somebody says something nice about you, you kind of respond. So thanks, I appreciate that. Great to see you here. When Mike asked me to come, first thing I said was that there's going to be good food. Thank you for the good food. Is there great food tonight? And a number of you, a lot of you here, we've worked together in the past on stuff, and some of you were asking about my wife, about Val, and is she here tonight? You know, I gave her the choice. And I said, honey, you want to come and be here tonight? She said, well, it's listen to you give a speech or spend some time with the grandkids. And so you know who won on that one. And I said, but she said, I've heard you speak before. I said, yeah, but it's going to be a brand new speech tonight. She said, yeah, I've heard that one before too. Anyway, she says hi, and she wanted to let you know, so we've been asking, we are 15 grandkids now. Up to 15. How many people here? None of you look old enough to be grandparents, but how many of you have grandkids? Yeah, quite a few of you. So we're sitting around the dinner table a while ago, and my little grandson, he was 6 at the time, and he looks up at me and he says, Grandpa, I love you. Doesn't that just, like, I'm just saying, like, write him into the will right now. And then he pauses and he says, true. Then he says, but I love Grandma more. So that's a beautiful thing, and we've got grandkids, and Mike's already touched on that, and I want to talk about that a little more. I said, you know, if I come to your meeting, Mike, I'm going to want to talk about Pierre Poilievre. You want to hear some things about Pierre Poilievre? And Mike said, yeah, that's okay too. And I said, you know, nominations are fun times, and there's always people competing, and the one thing, and Mike is a leader on this, and he understands this, when this is over, when this one here is over, and other ones that Jerry and I have spoken at before, we all pull together, right? Yeah. We all pull together. We've got to win this next election. We think it's coming soon, but you know, who knows the way things are going. And the other reason I said yes, when Mike, he's already touched on, asked if I'd come out. You know, as finance ministers, finance ministers get some bruises and some scars that maybe some others don't. And so when I see a guy who's balanced, I think Mike, you balanced 5 budgets in a row. I say, yeah, we have some kinship of spirit there. I'm going to come out and be there. And you know something else about Mike? When you've been a finance minister, as he was, and you've been successful, and you're not anymore, you get tons of offers in the private sector. And Mike, I know something about that, and I would say at about 10 times the salary of 5 times at least, of a member of parliament. But Mike's committed to the province, and he's committed to the country. And I know for a fact he has turned down some pretty nice offers for some pretty nice jobs. because he wants to serve, and he knows the importance of that. Mike, thanks for your service. We're in some wild times here, folks, and we're going to need people who are up to the task. Do you know, somebody may not be aware of this, when Mike first entered political life, he got handed kind of a nasty challenge because he was running, I think it was a by-election, running in a by-election against the leader of the party that was sort of the big party then, and against someone who had been in office for years, very popular person. And they said, yeah, let's see if Mike can do it, but he's really up for the challenge. He's up for the challenge. He won that particular race, and it so shocked that other party that they basically fell apart after that. Mike knocked the other party right out of the ballpark. Wouldn't you like to see a guy who could help knock the federal Liberals right out of the ballpark? He's taken on a lot of challenges. He knows the resource industry, he knows the forestry industry. So for all of these reasons, and the others that I said, I want to have to be able to talk about Pierre, which Mike of course supports, and I don't want to upset you, but we're going to have to talk about the federal Liberals. Sorry, we have to do that. Because you have to know something here, that just because Justin Trudeau is on the way out, that does not mean that somebody different is coming in from the Liberals. It does not mean that somebody who thinks differently is coming in. Because they all embrace the same type of thoughts and the same type of policies. And I want to talk about that. You've heard of, and those of you who have kids and their devices, they're so far way ahead of us on the iPhones and everything else. If I want to know something really high-tech, and I give advice to different high-tech companies, I'll call my grandkids. And I'll say, what about this? And who's watching that? And what about this? And they get all the information. So you're familiar with the term influencer. An influencer is somebody who influences people. And there's a lot of young people doing that. There's a few of us older ones doing it, not as well as some of the younger ones. But there's influencers out there that you've never even heard of. My granddaughter was telling me about one that she follows, and this person has like 15 million followers. Huge influencers. Even though you might not know the person's name, you're going to be influenced by them. I want to talk about an influencer from way back, over 100 years ago. A guy by the name of Karl Marx. Not the brother of Groucho. This is a different guy. And he was a major influencer. This is like in the mid to late 1800s. And he wrote a couple of books. One of them was called Das Kapital. One of them was called The Communist Manifesto. But Das Kapital, he defined what capital was. And when you hear the word capital, it's kind of become a nasty word, but all it means is what you've got to offer. Your capital could be cash, could be your property, could be your farm, could be your hard labor. And what Marx was saying was government should control capital. Government should control your capital. And he said some other stuff. And I heard when Langley was talking, I don't understand the language totally, I have to admit. But all of a sudden, I heard him say, God, family, money, immigration. That's my whole speech. So thanks for having me here tonight. But Karl Marx wrote some things. It's very important to understand this, even though his name is gone. He said, look, if we're going to control, government to control capital, we've got to control other things. First thing he said was, this whole idea about, and we heard already from Langley, this whole idea about God, forget that. Anybody who's believing in God, or believes in religious principles, and values their place of worship, whether it's a church, whether it's a temple, whether it's a mosque, He said, that's got to go. That's the first thing he said. First thing he said. Second thing he said was family. Family is just something that people invented. It's a concept. They called it a construct. And the only reason they invented it was to try and, control each other. And family, that whole notion of family, it's got to go. He actually said that. And then if families have got to go, they don't need homes and their own property. And he said private property. And citizens owning their own homes, citizens owning their own farms, it's got to go. He actually said that. And then he said, capital, income, your savings, your inheritance. He said, no, that's got to go. We've got to get rid of that. Government needs to control all that. And then he said, when we start taking all that away from people, some people are going to be upset. And they're going to speak out. So we've got to take away their right to speak out. Karl Marx wrote all that out. And then when we take it over and have the revolution, he said, then what we need is a few really smart people, just the elite people. We've got to put all the power in their hands and in a few agencies. And that's where all the power will be. And we'll run the whole thing. That's actually what he said. He wrote a book about it. Now, you think, I know what you're thinking. You're going to go, are you going to say that the federal Liberals and the NDP are communists? No, I am not going to say that. I mean, others have. But I am not going to say that. But the things that Marx wrote about worked their way into the universities. This is in the early 1900s. And then the reporters of the day, the academics, they would go to what was then called Russia and became the Soviet Union. They would go there. And they came back and they said, we've seen the future and it works. They lied to us. They lied to everybody. They didn't talk about the millions of people who died. They didn't talk about the millions of people arrested and put in camps because they wanted to speak out. They didn't talk about how agriculture, when you let the government try and run it, falls apart. They didn't talk about any of that. So folks, for over 100 years, even though his name is gone, the things he wrote about are taught and have been taught, not exclusively, but in a very strong way in universities. And so what we have, here's the term that's being used, and I think it's right. We're not talking about communists here. We're talking about, now get this, because the things he said affected politicians, and the media reported it, that it was good. We became cultural Marxists. Cultural Marxists. And so look at what so many governments have embraced, and this would be the federal Liberals. First of all, they are not happy about the fact that there's freedom in churches, mosques, and synagogues. And they keep bringing up this thing, and it came up, Mike, you might have seen it in one of their committee meetings just a couple months ago, to take away the charitable status of churches, mosques, temples, that do so much to serve the community. They want to take that away. As a matter of fact, we have a province now that wants to take away the right to even pray in public. That's straight Marxism. That was the first policy. God is not important. Get rid of that. And then family. Family's not important with this federal Liberal government. Not as important as it should be. How do we know that? Well, look at there's so many different policies. Look at this policy. Can you believe it? That they've actually said, and we've seen them, we've seen the federal Liberals and the NDP saying parents should not be involved or consulted if somebody wants to take minors, children, 12, 13, 14 years old, and alter them with chemicals or with surgery. This whole gender issue. You know, adults have the right to make their own decisions. They fully have that right. But children need to be protected. And the federal Liberals and the provincial NDP, the Socialists, they have a culturally Marxist thing about the importance of family. Oh, they'll say family's okay. But taking away parental rights, don't you think parents should be involved in those decisions? Those are parental decisions. That's what children do. And then, again, if family isn't important, what do you really need a house for? Why do you really need private property? And it's becoming more and more difficult because of the spending policies of the federal government for young people, to pursue their own homes. To be able to save up, or we're talking about savings, to be able to get their homes. They say, oh yeah, it's important. But they do not do everything they can to keep down the costs, the taxes, and the regulations when it comes to you or your children wanting their own homes. That's culturally Marxist thinking. It's just not that important to them. And then your own capital, your savings, your investments, your inheritance, your farms, they're continually thinking about ways to take more and more of that from you. Can you believe it? Talking about raising taxes on your capital as if capital is a bad thing. That's your savings. That's the money you want to pass on to your kids. And a culturally Marxist government looks at your capital and they say, that's ours. We want more of that. We're going to tax you more. And that's less for you to pass on to your kids. This is culturally Marxist thinking that not one of the candidates in the federal Liberal Party is talking against. Mark Carney is not talking against that. Mark Carney worked and put together a worldwide organization that said British Columbia and Alberta should not be able to have full control over their natural resources to be able to provide energy for the world. And he said that, and he made banks not invest in those type of the resources we have here in BC and in Alberta. But he led other banks in international lending for that to happen in other countries in the world, but not here. There is no difference on personality maybe. There is no difference from a policy perspective between any of those Liberal candidates. Don't you think it's time we had a government that sees the difference and says family and people and your money is yours and you should keep it? And then the right to speak out. We've seen that. Wow, we've seen that. I was just doing an interview from Great Britain. And they were talking about, they said, did it really happen that the Prime Minister seized people's bank accounts who were protesting? They must have been violent. And I said, no, they weren't violent. They were truckers. They were honking their horns, and the Prime Minister, he was like that. Because if you're culturally Marxist, you don't think people should have the right to speak freely and challenge. These are the types of things that we're up against, folks. These are the types of things that not one of the Liberal candidates is speaking against. And if we leave these things too long, they become entrenched, and it's too hard to turn it around. Now there's a guy who is willing and able to turn around. His name is Pierre Poilievre. There's a guy who wants to turn around. Some people say, well, how do you know? He worked for me. I say to people, if they're not happy with him, blame me. I brought him to Ottawa. And when I was running for the leadership of a new party at the time, which we won, he organized for us all of our university outreach. going on the campuses and speaking to young people about the things you believe in. And on university campuses, where it's a lot of cultural Marxism, he was talking about the importance of family and freedom and finances. He was talking about that way back. And I can remember the night he came into my office, and we were working late, and he comes in, it was a cold night in the early 2000s, and he said, I'm thinking of running for the nomination, just like Mike is. I'm thinking of running for the nomination. I said, well, you're well known in Calgary. You might do okay. He said, no, I want to run for the nomination right here in Ottawa. I'm like, whoa. You're from Western Canada, you're a young guy, and you think, first of all, you can win the nomination. If you win the nomination, you got to knock out a at the time, very popular Liberal cabinet minister. He said, well, what do you think? You think I can do it? And in my mind I said, oh Lord, please forgive me. Yes, I think you can do it. And he did it. And he did it the way Mike was talking about and Jerry was talking about it. Cold winter nights in Ottawa, knocking on doors. Hi, I'm Pierre Pollier. I'd like to represent you. Night after night after night. You know what? He won the nomination. And the election comes on, boom! Takes out a very well-known federal Liberal cabinet minister. I'd like to say, I taught him how to do that, but no, I didn't. He's smart all on his own. One smarter than I am. And a little while after that, after he won that election, I was at some business meetings in Toronto, and there were some guys there, and they were from his riding. And they said, oh, you know that Pierre Polyev guy? And so I kind of hesitated. Hope they like him. I said, yeah, I don't know. And they said, he's a great MP. And I said, oh yeah, for sure I know. I said, why do you say that? And they said, because he stays in touch with us. And every time we call, either for business or family or with an issue, he gets back to us. That's the kind of guy that's now leading our party. That's the kind of guy that can turn it around. But it is not going to be easy. Because the media themselves, in their minds, and I know there's some media here, and we love you, but most of them, not all, most, have been trained in the same universities. They're culturally Marxist in their thinking. And so when they hear somebody talking about freedom, and the importance of family, and the importance of lowering taxes and not lifting them, they just don't understand it. It's not their fault. Some people say, well, the media is a big conspiracy. No, it's not a conspiracy at all. They do it wide open. They just don't get it. So why is he increasing in popularity? Because people like him, people like Mike, people who think like Mary. You like Mary? Fantastic. Fantastic representative. Fantastic. I had a chance to work with them. They're turning it around. Pierre and the people with him and candidates like this are turning it around. And people are starting to turn around. And they're starting to get brave and speak up. They sometimes get canceled. I know what that's all about. It hurts and it's very expensive. But more and more people are saying, no, it's worth it to stand up for. Because cultural Marxists, as political parties, are not happy until they control it all. And folks, we don't want that. We want you to control your future. We want you to control your communities. We want the power to be in your hands. And that's where it should be. And the very fact you're here tonight says you're willing to stand up, speak up, and work. And work so that in the next election, we have a leader, Pierre Polyev, and a party that's going to put your concerns first. Taking us over the top. And as he likes to say, we're going to bring it home. Will you work hard and bring it home with us? Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Stock. Another hand for Stockwell Day. Showing up. And you've heard from my friend Mike. And now you all know what you need to do, right? You need to be a member. If you're not a member of the party, you need to sign up. If you know other people who should be members and should sign up for Mike, make them sign up. If you are a member, you need to vote. It doesn't help to have a membership if you don't vote for the nomination, right? And then, need your help. Somebody's saying when. What's the date, Mike? Do we have a date yet?
We do not.
We do not have a date yet. Pay attention. So pay attention when the date comes. But this is critical. Stockwell's talked to you about how critical it is. I remember, many of you probably do, remember the cleaning up that the BC Liberals had to do after the NDP were in for 10 years? Right? You remember that? And a lot of it's still not cleaned up. It takes a long time. When governments let infrastructure fall apart, when governments let your society, your community fall apart, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of work. So there's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake. But we know that if you send somebody like Mike to Ottawa, he's going to do the things you need him to do. He needs you to do your part. He needs you to do your part. Get memberships. Make sure you vote. And make sure you help him out. You know what? You can do little things. You can call your friends. You can make sure that when you go to that nominating place, you're bringing 2 people with you who wouldn't have come otherwise because they were going to watch the game at home or something, right? Yeah. Little practical things. Those are the things you can do. You don't have to be knowledgeable about politics like Langley, who's gone somewhere else. You don't have to be some kind of political analyst like Langley. You don't have to know all that stuff. You just need to know that Mike's somebody that you can believe in and somebody who's going to do the work for you in Ottawa. So let's hear it for Mike. Thank you, Mike. Thank you all for being here. We're going to be talking to Mike de Jong in a couple of seconds here. We're still live, so just stay with us here. Mike de Jong is shaking hands with all of the people that are here supporting him tonight. The community is very excited to support Mike. You heard Stockwell Day talk about what's going on here tonight, and he talked about Pierre Poilievre and all of their policies and talking about Marxists. How are you? Oh my goodness, what an exciting time for you.
Very exciting and very gratifying and inspiring when you see this many people, hundreds of people come out who really want to take their country back.
You know what I love is as we're talking, you've got all these people rallying around you right here for the camera. They want to show their support, even on TV. We're live right now. What do you want to say to the people that are watching? We heard you say your cup of cha is half full.
Yeah, we've got some challenges facing this country, but every one of you who is sitting in your living room watching this program, and I know there are tens of thousands of you, we can take our country back and we can fix this. But we need you to get involved. We need, obviously, in my view, we need to elect a Pierre Poilievre-led Conservative government. We need to reintroduce some common sense to government. That's what all of these people believe, and you can do it. This country belongs to you, not the politicians and not the elites, and you can make it better.
So, Mike, one thing I really need to know is how can we make it happen? You did a great job up there. Everybody loves you. How do we make it happen?
Well, join my party, join the Conservative Party of Canada, and come to a nomination meeting. The date will likely be next month. If you live in Abbotsford, South Langley, we're going to have a nomination contest. I'm asking for your support. Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party of Canada need your support wherever you live and wherever you're watching this program in Canada. Take out a membership, get a lawn sign, support your local Conservative candidate.
I know you want to wrap this up, but real quick, you talked about Ludhiana, Moga, Chandigarh. You named all Amritsar. How are you so familiar? I mean, we've got such a diverse crowd. We've got the Dutch community here, the non-South Asian community, and the South Asian community, and everybody loves you. You got the Cowboys and the Indians today. Tell me, how do you feel about all of this support? And you know so much about our culture.
But this is Canada, and one of the great gifts I've received in over 30 years of public service is the support from the South Asian community and Punjabis in particular. And whether it's Amritsar, or Bathinda, or Moga, or Ludhiana, or Jalandhar, or Nawashar, or Chandigarh, or Chananwal, or Alamgir, all of these places that I've had the honor and privilege to visit and get to know people, and they are roots. But what links all of us in this room, of course, is that we are all members now of the Canadian family, and we are so lucky in this country that people came from Punjab, they came from India, they came from the Netherlands, they came from Germany, they came from other parts of the world and created a family here, and that's the family that we have to work together now.
Amazing. Mike DeYoung, good luck to you. Not that you need it, you've got this, and also Sat Sri Akal.
Sat Sri Akal.
Thank you. So we're still live. I'll let you continue on because you've got so many people that want to talk to you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to Sanjha TV.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. So we're still live, and maybe we have a chance to talk to Mary Pollack, and maybe we have a chance to talk to some of the people here today. Did you want to say something? Okay, no problem. We've got some people here that maybe want to say a few words. We could also talk to Stockwell Day if we have him somewhere close by, if anybody else wants to say anything here. So is there anybody else that wants to say anything on the camera? We're still rolling live. So if there's someone you want to bring over, we can maybe Stockwell Day might want to come. Anybody? Yeah, sure. So we're going to bring somebody here to talk to them live about what's going on here tonight and their support for the Conservative Party. It's a really confusing time for Canadians right now. It's really important for all Canadians to find out what each political party is about. So ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਪਈ ਲਿਬਰਲਸ ਬਾਰੇ, ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵਸ ਬਾਰੇ, NDP ਬਾਰੇ. ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਗੈਸਟ ਆਏ ਹੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੋਗੇ in English. Hello, how are you? You look beautiful tonight. You look so beautiful. You dressed up for the rally.
Oh, thank you for the compliment. And yes, it was very, very nice. And
We're live right now. Did you want to say a message about the Conservative Party or Mike DeYoung? Did you want to just say something to the people watching?
oh, we wish them the best. We really, really hope that the Conservatives are going to be in. And we're rooting for them. And it was a very nice evening.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. So you can see people are super excited to get Mike DeYoung going here with the Conservative Party, the platform that the people believe in here at this rally. And we can talk to somebody else from our community. We've got somebody that wants to speak in Punjabi. So ਸਾਡੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ. We've got somebody here. Actually ਸਾਡੇ ਸੰਗ ਦੇ ਭਰਾ ਜਵੋ. Okay, so there's nobody here that wants to speak in Punjabi. So that's okay. We are still live. I'll get one person just to bear with me. Loveleen. So I'm going to talk to Loveleen. So ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਲਾਈਵ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਲਾਈਵ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ audience ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ we have to bring the people. This is a political expert and media personality. Loveleen, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for asking.
Yes, I'm very good. ਕਿੰਨਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਜੋ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸੀ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ. Actually ਇਧਰਲੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਆਓ just so we can be more comfortable. Loveleen, ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਟੇਜ ਤੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ about immigration and what did you say? Immigration.
ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਸੋਨੀਆ ਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਂਝਾ ਟੀਵੀ ਦਾ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਚੇਚੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਸਮਾਂ ਕੱਢ ਕੇ ਇਸ ਇਵੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ ਕਵਰ ਕਰਨ ਆਏ ਹੋ। ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਰਿਗਾਰਡਿੰਗ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਧਿਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਭਰਮ ਪਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਐਂਟੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਆਖਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਨਿਰਾਧਾਰ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹਾਰਪਰ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਦੇਖੋ ਬੜੀਆਂ ਡਿਸਾਈਸਿਵ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਤੇ ਜੋ ਡਿਲੀਵਰ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਸੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ।
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ PR PR ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ PR ਪਿਛਲੇ ਟਾਈਮਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੌਖੀ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਸੀ ਹੁਣ ਵਿਚਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਲੋਕ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਟੰਗੇ ਹੋ ਆ
ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਕਸਪ੍ਰੈਸ ਐਂਟਰੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਹਾਰਪਰ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਬਾਅਦ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾਮ ਬਦਲ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਪੇਅਰ ਕਰੋ ਮੌਜੂਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ UN ਨੇ ਮਾਡਰਨ ਡੇ ਸਲੇਵਰੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਦੇਖੋ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਇੱਕ ਹਿਊਮਿਲੇਟਿੰਗ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨਸ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਟੈਂਪਰੇਰੀ ਫੋਰਨ ਵਰਕਰਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੋ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਤੇ ਮਾਡਰਨ ਡੇ ਸਲੇਵਰੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਅੰਦਾਜ਼ਾ ਲਗਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਕੌਣ ਪ੍ਰੋ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕੌਣ ਨਹੀਂ
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਹਿਊਮਿਲੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਸਟੇਜ ਤੇ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਹਿਊਮਿਲੀਏਸ਼ਨ that's 100% accurate Loveleen that's the words that everybody should realize that's what's happening ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ
ਜੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ UN ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਵਰਡ ਇਸ ਲਈ ਵਰਤਿਆ ਕਿ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਹਿਊਮਿਲੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ UN ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਹਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਮਾਡਰਨ ਡੇ ਸਲੇਵਰੀ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਬੜਾ ਇੱਕ ਗਲਤ ਰੁਝਾਨ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਜੋ ਹਾਰਪਰ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਸੀ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਜੋ ਪਾਲਿਸੀ ਸੀ ਇੱਕ ਸਮਾਂਬੱਧ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਸਟੇਟਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਜੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਦਿਨ ਮੰਥਸ ਪਰਮਾਨੈਂਟ ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਸੀ ਇੱਕ ਟਰਾਂਸਪੇਰੈਂਟ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਜਾਏ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜੂਝਣਾ ਪਵੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਟੇਟਸ ਦਾ ਨਾ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਫਿਊਚਰ ਦਾ ਨਾ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਸੋ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਮਾੜੀ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਤੇ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਮਾੜਾ ਹੈ
ਲਵਲੀਨ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਇੱਥੇ ਰੈਲੀ ਤੇ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਮਾਈਕ ਡਿਯੋਂਗ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਆ everything is going to go smooth for Mike Jong ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ with this rally he has a lot of support
ਸੋਨੀਆ ਜੀ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਮਾਈਕ ਡਿਯੋਂਗ ਦੀ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਬੜੇ ਹੀ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸਡ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਸ ਹਾਲਾਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਹਾਲਾਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਕਸਪੈਰੀਮੈਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰੂਵਨ ਵਿਦ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਲੀਡਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਬਣੇ ਹੋਏ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਾਜ਼ੁਕ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਹੈ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮਾਈਕ ਡਿਯੋਂਗ ਫਾਈਨਾਂਸ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਵੀ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ ਸੋ ਅਮਰੀਕਨ ਟੈਰਿਫਸ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਥ੍ਰੈਟ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਖਤਰਨਾਕ ਹਾਲਾਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੀ ਬੇੜੀ ਪਾਰ ਲਗਾ ਸਕੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅਜਿਹਾ ਤਜਰਬੇਕਾਰ ਲੀਡਰ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਮਾਈਕ ਡਿਯੋਂਗ ਤੋਂ ਸਿਵਾ ਐਬਸਫੋਰਡ ਸਾਊਥ ਲੈਂਗਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਦੂਸਰਾ ਹੋਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿਸਦਾ
ਲਵਲੀਨ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਆਰ ਲਾਈਵ ਆਲ ਓਵਰ ਦ ਵਰਲਡ ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਰਾਈਟ ਦੇਅਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ
ਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫੇਰ ਸਾਂਝਾ ਟੀਵੀ ਦਾ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਇਹ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਹੈ ਮੇਰੀ ਇਹ ਗੁਜ਼ਾਰਿਸ਼ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਚੋਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਹੱਥ ਮਜ਼ਬੂਤ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾਣ ਤੇ ਐਬਸਫੋਰਡ ਸਾਊਥ ਲੈਂਗਲੀ ਨਾਲ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਤਾਲੁਕ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਮਾਈਕ ਡਿਯੋਂਗ ਦੀ ਇਸ ਰੇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੋਮੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਰੇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੱਧ ਚੜ ਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ
Very good. Thank you so much. And I know one of the platform topics is family with the Conservatives. All about family. And congratulations to you and your beautiful baby boy. Baby boy. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Loveleen. So ਅਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲ ਐਕਸਪਰਟ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਲਵਲੀਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਆ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਮਾਈਕ ਡਿਯੋਂਗ ਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮਾਈਕ ਡਿਯੋਂਗ ਸਾਊਥ ਐਬਸਫੋਰਡ ਐਂਡ ਸਾਊਥ ਲੈਂਗਲੀ ਲਈ ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਜਿੱਤੂਗੇ ਸੋ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਫॉर ਵਾਚਿੰਗ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਸੋਨੀਆ ਵੈਸਟ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਲਾਈਵ ਸੀਗੇ ਤਾਂ I will say ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ to you and good night we'll get you again next time when we're live again thank you so much for watching ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ